Hello, Pauper fans. This is Mathonical, and you are joining me for a deck tech on this fairly interesting new deck that one of our viewers has brought to my attention. This is my own spin on it, and actually before I get into anything else, I would like to give full credit to Fisherman on Reddit. He's the one that sent me the list, and the uploader of the list was Hidoyashi on MTG Goldfish, so I'm not sure if this is the same person or two different people, but big thank you, big shout out to these people. Without them, I would not have been aware of this deck. This is awesome. I've made a lot of changes to it, and by a lot, I mean just a few in the sideboard, and in a later version, I've got a few more in the main deck. So we're just going to jump right into it. I'm going to start off by going over some of the cards, and as we start getting to the combos, I'll point those out as well. So our 1-drops, we've got a Kirtar's Desire. This is a pacifism effect, although we don't really care if it can't block. We're not really in the market for attacking. We've got Abundant Growth, cycles, and gives us access to any color. This is very important, and you'll see why later on. We've got some Journey to Nowhere. This is just a solid removal spell. We're going to be able to remove most of our opponent's threats and just kind of keep a nice control on the board. We've got Fertile Ground. This is the other have any mana source available to us. It's also going to give us a bit of ramp to get to that Pestilence and to cast all our cards, because we're going to be having a lot of them. And the last, basically the 4th Fertile Ground, is actually a Trace of Abundance. The reason for this is we do want to have the Shroud to protect our lands, especially when we suit up our land a few times. It would really suck to get hit by land destruction, so this is a nice way of kind of protecting our investment. Quiet Disrepair is MVP in this list. You'll see more as we go through it, but it enchants either an artifact or an enchantment. Quite often this can be used to destroy enchanted permanents, although really that's only come up a few times. You can always choose to do that. It's like decent against Affinity, being able to blow up 4/4s, but the main way we're going to be using it in this deck is actually just to gain 2 life. We actually have a lot of life sinks in the deck, and we also just want to recover our life after we've been taking a beating early on, because we have to get our control pieces online. So this is just a nice 2 life for the rest of the game type effect, especially since we have a lot of enchantments. We'll quite often just put on our own stuff and be quite happy with that. Our last 2-drop is Crystallization. This is just another pacifism effect that if the creature it is enchanted to gets targeted by a spell or ability, it does get exiled. So this is good against flicker strategies. Since it is multicolored, it can also hit Guardian of the Guild packs, and it's an all-around just solid card. We are playing a lot of 1-ofs and 2-ofs, as you may have noticed. We're able to do that through the strength of Heliod's Pilgrim. Basically allows us to tutor any aura out of our deck. So quite often we're going to be using these to get Quiet Disrepairs, just to continue getting that life, but we can always use it just to kind of get some more pacifism effects to lock down our creature. Basically whatever we need at any point in the game to just kind of get it there. We've got 1 Hobble. This is another pacifism effect. You're probably noticing a trend here. Except this one has Draw a Card. Really nice just to keep the action flowing, and that's why it's here. We've got Oblivion Ring. These are just additional Journey to Nowheres, except they can hit any permanent. This is extremely useful. It's able to take out things like Longbow, Tortured Existence, anything like that, really. Very useful. I'm going to come back to the Protective Sphere. We've got the Recumbent Bliss. This is just another pacifism effect, except this one gains life, so a little bit of utility there. Kruphix's Insight is very important in this deck. This is how we're drawing our cards. You may notice that we're not a blue deck, so how do we manage to maintain card advantage against other decks? Well, this is it. Essentially, we have 31 enchantments in our list, and this is going to hit them all the time. I don't think I've ever hit less than 1 at once, and that's pretty unlucky. You're almost always going to hit 2 or 3 cards with this and feel great about it. We've got the Faith's Fetters, just another gain a bunch of life when we put it down. It's pacifism effect, except it can also hit anything else. So you can put this on like a Tortured Existence, for example, or any creature that has activated abilities. So Thermal Alchemist comes to mind. Great aura. It's just really nice to have access to that with the Pilgrim package. And of course Pestilence. Everyone knows that I really do like this card. I've played it in a lot of my well, all of my white-black Pestilence decks. And when this list had, when I saw it had Pestilence in it as the main win condition, and that's right, it is the main win condition, I just basically had to give this deck a try, and I've really liked it ever since. So we're going to come back to the interesting card. This is Protective Sphere. So I'll give you all a moment to read it. You can always just, read it there. Basically, we get to pay 1 of any color and 1 life, and we get to prevent damage from the source of the color we paid. That's right, we get to prevent the damage from anything, and it's at the cost of 1 life. We do have 8 ways of generating any color mana, and actually the Heliod's Pilgrims are able to fetch those out, so when you total it up, we have 12 different ways. And that really only matters if they're playing like red or blue. But essentially, we're able to prevent any crazy amounts of damage as long as we have life to spare. And that's why we have Quiet Disrepair. So now, as you can see, what we're trying to do is kind of lock down all the annoying creatures with Journeys and Oblivion Rings. We're trying to get a pacifism on like a fairly fat creature. So if we can ever get this like on a Gurmag Angler, for example, or any creature in general, as long as it's got more than 1 toughness, it will allow us to keep our Pestilence on the board without having to wrath everything and losing the Pestilence. That in turn will allow us to ping away 1 damage at a time, or maybe 2, from our opponent, and then we gain it back with Quiet Disrepair. If something is a little bit too much for us to deal with, or we're afraid of getting burned out, Fling, anything like that, Protective Sphere comes to the rescue and just prevents all of that. Yeah. It may seem like we're a little bit weak to enchantments, or enchantment hate, but when you have 1 enchantment removal spell, which of these cards do you remove? That is the question. Anyway, we're going to jump over to the sideboard. So what I've done with this is basically I wanted to try and stop some of the enchantment hate that's coming our way. My biggest concern is from Tron. They've got the Destroy All Auras. So we have a couple negates to try and stop that. We've got Prohibits. This is a good catch-all. We can't really afford double blue counterspells, so we're just going to put Prohibit in instead and just try and hope that will catch anything else. We have 2 Curse of the Bloody Tome. This is how we're going to beat control decks or decks that go longer and later than us. We're just going to try and mill them out. We do go through a lot of cards very quickly when Kruphix Insight puts cards into our graveyard. So this is basically the way we need to fight back with that. Raven's Crime is how we're going to fight control decks with counter magic. It's just going to allow us to discard our lands to get rid of their cards. And we've got the 4th Pestilence on the board. This is the meta where we have elves and various other aggro strategies, so having access to the 4th one of these is going to be very useful. Our backup win plan, or win con versus various decks when we need to win faster, or kind of like if a lot of these are dead cards, we can always bring in Aura Gnarlids. This is going to allow us to have just a really big, almost always unblockable creature to beat down our opponent. And Ancestral Mask is going to do much the same thing, except our Pilgrim can always tutor it out and put it on itself. And 2 Relics of Progenitus, and this is how we're going to fight the discard. Or like the various control strategies like Tron, we can fight Torax with this. Yeah, just necessary sideboard material in the current Pauper format. So yeah, this is the deck we're going to be playing today. We're going to go run a league with it, and I hope everyone will enjoy it. If you've got any questions or comments, just let me know. And I'm going to have links to the original list that was shared with me. I'm going to have a link to this version, and stay tuned after all of the videos after you've watched all the videos, because I am going to show you the Enchanted Control version 2. Yeah, enjoy.